The reason we got to ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Listen, the secrets of men are in their stories. And people don't just start off telling stories. There has to be a platform. There has to be an environment. There has to be situations. There has to be questions. There has to be conversations. Something has to make it necessary for people to begin to tell their stories. And so unless you propel, unless you activate, unless you start conversations, you do not have the opportunity for people to tell their stories. Therefore, you do not know them. You do not understand them. And I have always said, you love me, you love me, you love me, you love me. But you can't love me if you don't know me. Because when my true idiosyncrasies, my true proclivities, when my true tendencies, behaviors, and mannerisms begin to offload and manifest, you'll be shocked to your teeth that you can't stand me, therefore you can't love me. And it is the reason, so it is the reason why we want to ask questions randomly, because by the time you are answering these random questions, more truths are coming out that guides people to who you really are. This is so important. It was in times of conversations like this that a guy realized that the lady he was dying for in love was not planning to have a baby when she gets married. She didn't just come out to say that's what I want to do, but in the midst of just simple, out of the box questions that came on a passing note, she just voiced that out, and it's like, excuse me, what did you just say? Now, it is so important. And sometimes you say, but why didn't you tell me? You hid it from me, you deceived me. But then sometimes people don't just start talking. There has to be a response to something. There has to be a reaction to something. There has to be conversations that open people up to you. And if those conversations are not coming, if those stories are not coming on their own, start them. Ask questions. Be specific. Listen, you got to do it even at the risk of them being interviewed, at the risk of them being put on the spotlight. It's your future we're talking about here. Your future happiness, your future mental health, your future peace and sense of fulfillment is what we're talking about, is what is at stake here. And you're not planning to impress people and then end up depressed all your life just because you didn't want them to feel like you put them on the spotlight. You didn't want them to feel like they're in an interview session. Who cares about that? There are ways you can intelligently do it and it will not amount to that. But I'm just saying that even if it amounts to that, sweetheart, you want to do it, because it's about where this thing takes you. So we ask very simple questions like, where will you spend your honeymoon at the end of your wedding? Simple question, right? But marriages have been torn apart over variance as it relates to where individuals wanted to spend their honeymoon. So you don't want to take things for granted. You don't want to pass over stuff, because flashpoint for crisis come from the most unimaginable place. Thank God on the platform we had engaged couples who all were in alignment when it came to where it is that they wanted to spend their honeymoon. The other time we talked about a question, what will constitute a perfect day for you? And somebody on the platform was like, what will constitute a perfect day for her will be for her to be at waterfalls somewhere in Canada and all that. I'm like, wow, your description of a perfect day is so amazing. But my worry is that this description is not something anybody can fulfill, except if yourself and your partner are going to relocate to the waterfall and be living there so that your day becomes perfect as every day you find yourself by the waterfall. That's the kind of dream you have once in a lifetime or twice in a lifetime now and again. But to say what your perfect day looks like, we're talking about that thing you want to experience regularly on a daily basis that makes you fit, makes you mentally stable and alert to function at your maximum. So we got to understand these questions. We got to use them to pull out the information that we need. Another question we ask, as simple as it may be, but it helps you define the priority where your partner has placed you in the scheme of things and in the crowd of people around them. We ask questions like, now there is an emergency. Your parents, your siblings, your children, and your spouse are involved in that emergency. But you can only save one person. And then we asked, who will that person be? As simple as this question is, it also tells you where you are placed in the scheme of importance, in the scale of preference by your partner. Now listen, if the Bible says a man should leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, the Bible, it appears, is putting spousal relationship over and above any other relationship. So apart from your relationship with God, your spouse's relationship with you is put on the highest on the scale of preference. And so we also were glad that all them participants on the platform said that one person they're going to save, as much as the parents are important, but then the parents had also lived their lives to the full. As much as their siblings are important, these siblings also have their lives to live with probably their own spouses. And as much as the children are involved, it is the spouses that created, if you like that word, excuse that word, the children. And so even if the children are lost, they can always make some more babies by the help of God. And so all of them on the platform said it will be their spouse. Amazing. Now listen, for me, it will not be out of place if somebody says, no, I'll save the children. If somebody says, no, I'll save my twin sister or brother. If somebody says, no, my parents have done so much for me, I'm not going to leave them, I'm going to save them, it's okay. It's their priority. What that leaves you, what that does for you, is to know where the person has placed you, and it makes decision making easy for you. You can't get somebody who says, no, it's my parents I'll save, it's the siblings I'll save, it's the children I'll save, and you still want to get married to them because you think you're desperate, or because you think in the course of the relationship you are going to change them. Then you are doomed, because you're going to receive the shock of your life. You're going to do that. Of course, there are occasions where people say, oh, it's my spouse I'll save because it's the time of engagement, and then I'm dating, and then they're having fun, and they're on cloud nine. What if they say that and they change their mind later? At least you've brought them to the place of agreement. You've brought them to the place of understanding. You've got them to the place of clearly defined values. If you're going to get married to somebody,